Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. We are going to continue our year-end expedition. Is it called an expedition? My English is failing me. Okay, so exploration into the domain of 36 strategies or pearls of thought about how to outmaneuver your enemy in wartime. So we are coming down to the last few ones. Yesterday we talked about 无中生有. So how you can fabricate fake news and create something to distract or disillusion or just trick your enemy into believing something. So that's the nothing within grows something. And today we're talking about 美人计. 美人计 probably still works today in the espionage business, like using women as information gatherer or decision maker distraction, like do something to the head, to the brain of your enemy, the highest rank of your enemy, or maybe not highest rank, but just use women to achieve purpose. So 美人计, we have 美, beautiful. We talked about this character in 真善美, the three kind of pillars of good meaning concepts in Chinese review. We have the sheep on the top. So the sheep comes with this cute triangular horn. That's Chinese frontal view of the sheep depiction, and then fluffy, horizontally flowing sheep, what do you call it? Wool, right? So, so this is our sheep on the top. The bottom is a person symbol. I think that's a person symbol of combined of this and the rounded arm. So something related to sheep that we attach the meaning of beauty. Probably because sheep is the best rank, like the top rated offerings of like animal sacrifice to God is the preferred one, because sheep or lamb in the English got this connotation of purity, right? Of something of the best quality that you can sacrifice to God to gain favor. Of course, it's a trade, it's a transactional. Anyways, this character in the Eastern culture as well, at least, I mean, I cannot speak to the Eastern culture. Here, we're just talking about the Chinese. Language creators back then also attach the concept of beauty to sheep. So I guess, I mean, people, eventually researchers later on, like what we as humans evaluate another human, how we would view somebody as beautiful or not. One major factor is it's symmetrical. So look at this character, it's super symmetrical. So anyways, that's my best pitch for the character creation of beautiful. And as an adjective, when attached to person, this is our person symbol. It looks almost like English letter R, right? There's also a streamlined version of that, which is kind of like that or like that. But this is like more curvier, kind of like that. It's an R. When it looks like this, it's a generic, ungendered person. So it's a human standing on two legs. That's obvious. Okay, it's human, but there's no gender attached to it. But when you attach a beautiful person, in Chinese culture back then, beautiful person designated to women. So even if you don't use woman, the character here, which is 美女, you use 美人, beautiful person, that's still designated to female, beautiful person. Okay. 计 is a scheme. We saw that many times. We have all kinds of 计. So it's because 美人 simply is a category of people. But when you say 美人计, it becomes formulated as a strategy within the 36 stratagem. So that's the complete wording. You cannot cut anything out. You have to say 美人计, and then people know, oh, you referring to the 36, one of the stratagems. And the 计 came from this speaking sign and number 10 on the right side. So speaking comes from this mouse symbol, which is a block with up tilted corner of the mouse, kind of smiley face. And then we have this tip of the tongue and then pointer toward the mouse. So the tip of the tongue pointed toward the mouse means it's something within the mouse. So we have the main organs to making speech, the tongue and the mouth, right? Tongue's function is to regulate or to change the flow of the air from your pipe, right, out of the chamber of the mouth, right? Mouth is a chamber, is a fixed, and what you can make the sound of is with tongue, a lot of times, and your lips. So these two are mechanisms to make sound, to make speech. And then the top two horizontal lines are the sound bites made from speaking, the result. So, and sound bites, I find it charming. Like language creators even consider like the bottom one closer to the tongue, right? It's a longer line, and then the further away it goes, it diminishes through time and space. Very wise observation. And then on the left side is speaking, right? On the right side is number 10. So we have ancient roping technology to keep record of things. So when we tie a knot on the rope, that's number 10. And eventually this knot on the rope is not so obvious for the eyes to see. Simply the language creators put a horizontal line here to make it obvious. Okay, that's our number 10. It has nothing to do with crossification. Crossification. So, okay, 10 as the biggest number in a 10-digit calculation, numbering system simply means calculation or computing. So you have to quantify things, right? And then you can do your math to figure out what's the best approach. So, and then you have to influence, you have to speak to people to make them change their mind, to tell them why after a calculation, this is the way to go. So combined of this calculation and the speaking is our scheme. So a scheme unspoken is not considered a scheme. You have to get people on board with whatever your calculation is. And that describes my job, basically. Okay, so 美人计 is beautiful person scheme. It's simply send out a beauty to distract or influence on a personal level to the decision maker or the key persons in the enemy's organization. Most likely, if it's in an army situation, the general or the king or the emperor, whoever, some big decision makers over there that would influence the whole, the fate or destiny or how the result of the warring time came out to influence the other side. So, okay, there was this 美人计, there was this story, most well-known example of this 美人计 applied in China was almost 250, 100 years ago. Yeah, something like that, like before the unified Qing, make China, the whole land, unified into one kingdom. Before the imperial system, there was this wartime that multiple regimes and powers forces coexisting in China. And actually 26 stratagems, a lot of times it came from that era because that's the most warring time in China. There was no dominant one power to overpower the other parties. You have to come up with wisdom, how to outmaneuver people, right? So this is one of the strategies back then. The story goes, Wu and Yue were at war, and Wu subdued or overpowered or win or beat or kick the ass of Yue. So then captured the leader from Yue. And then this leader, I guess, play some trick or something, get released. Like because after became war prisoner for a long time, this leader got to return to hometown, the country or his people. So his people was not totally like wiped out. Still his people. They still speak the same kind of language, have share the same culture, grew from the same piece of land. So there are still bases for him to restart. But because he lost the war, right? And he was imprisoned for such a long time. This power is super imbalanced. So Wu is a lot more powerful than Yue. Of course, at this point, it would be suicidal to come back at Wu at that point. So what he did was to went through this screening process of finding out the best looking girl in his regime. And I mean, this is later they imagined the picture of this best looking girl. And actually in throughout the Chinese history, at least the legends of Chinese history, four most beautiful women in China. So this is one of them. And she was, as you can see, we don't really have gender in our spoken language. So it's a she. I guess she used to work as somebody who wrings fabrics by the river or something like that. Like she's a working class. She was a working class. She didn't come from, a powerful place, but she happened to be the best face in that country and probably body as well. So she was selected to be the spy or the influencer on the Wu, the leader of Wu. So she was selected and sent as a gift, as an offering to Wu. And being such a beautiful person, like this is like a nationwide, I mean, in that regime, widely selected and intentionally searched, right? So before the talent shows like today's, right? So people sign up for that. Or like a scout went out to see beautiful faces and sign them up for agencies of whatever shows or be a model or something. That's a national effort of selecting the best face from that region. So you can see, like, just by this intentional selection process, the result could be like somebody outstandingly beautiful was selected and then sent as the spy, right? Espionage at that era to influence the Wu. So actually her work, her job description probably doesn't involve of influencing his military decision, because at the time, I mean, that would draw suspicion to herself, right? So her job just to seduce him and make sure he was entertained, the leader of Wu side was entertained, distracted from the running of his kingdom, basically, abandoning his job, because her job was to let him abandon his job. And you can imagine if that happened, the leader of the country abandoned their responsibility, not answering to their people or their military organization, be a great leader because such a beautiful woman next to him. And I heard, I mean, of course, it's made up. Like we can only imagine. Besides beauty, she also is talented, can play instruments, can dance, all that. So I guess that's kind of a Beyonce of that time, or I don't know, J-Lo of that time. The great entertainer as well, right? So after 10 years of that sort of distraction and abandonment, Yue, the emperor over there, not emperor, I guess the leader over there, the military leader over there, finally see the chance, because Wu eventually, out of abandonment and not the leader not attending to the day-to-day business, not crumble, but just weaken, right? It's not a well-managed organization anymore. So after 10 years, get back, won the war, kill the leader. And that's the lesson. like resounding throughout the history of China. That's most famous applied strategy of 美人计. And this is a contemporary actor that's acting out the story of Xi Shi, is this beauty we're talking about, because she came from the Western village. So Xi Shi is the name, and this is, of course, later day rendering, imagine later day rendering, but the best looking girl represented was sent out to carry out this mission of distracting, like seducing, distracting, and then eventually weakening the other side of your enemy. Right? Cash in to the currency of thinking with one word a day. See you another day.